so we're going to talk about the body membranes now. And we've talked about kind of a couple of these a little bit before, but we'll go in a little more detail right now. So the body membranes, so these are going to be things that cover both the external body and also the internal body. But why we're actually talking about them right here is that they're actually going to be composed of at least two of the primary tissues that we've talked about. So we'll put that there. So composed of at least two primary tissues, okay? And those primary tissues are going to be one, epithelium, okay? And the epithelium is actually going to be bound to an underlying connective tissue. Okay, because they are made out of two kind of tissue types, we consider these simple organs. Okay, and so we always say, like, what is the biggest organ of the body? Well, it's actually the skin. So we'll talk about the skin right now. So there are three types that we'll talk about. Okay, the first is going to be the cutaneous membrane. We're then going to talk about the mucous membrane. And then the serous membrane. Now, we're going to talk about how some of these are wet membranes and some of them are dry. And so I'll just kind of put that here so we'll talk about it a little bit later, but this is going to be a dry membrane. And then this one, the mucus and the serous are going to be wet. Okay. And this will make more sense. The cutaneous membrane is going to be the skin. So it's on the outside, so it's dry. And then the mucous membrane and the serous membrane, these are inside the body, and so they have to be moist. All right, so we're going to first talk about the cutaneous membrane. All right, and so this is the skin. So the skin that's covering the external part of our body. Now, it is going to be made out of, kind of the first layer is going to be keratinized, stratified, squamous, epithelium. Okay, and we often are going to call this the epidermis. Okay, beneath the keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium, we're going to have the connective tissue, okay? And so this is going to be connected to the keratinized, stratified, squamous epithelium, or the epidermis, is going to be firmly attached to a thick layer of connective tissue. Okay, and this is going to be the dermis. Okay, so epidermis means kind of above, and this is going to be the dermis. Skin is exposed to the air, and therefore is a dry membrane. Okay, so we're going to talk more about kind of the integument system and skin and things like that, but this is all we need to know for now. The next type is going to be the mucous membranes. Oh wait, and I forgot to show you, I'll show you a picture of this before I move on. So we're just going to look at this one right here. So the cutaneous membrane is just going to be the skin on the outside of the body. Okay, so hopefully most people are familiar with that. You may not have ever called it a cutaneous membrane, but it is just the skin. Okay, so now the mucous membrane, these are going to be membranes that line all body cavities, open to the outside. Side of the body. Okay, so think about like your mouth, you know, your anus, your anything that's going to actually have is open to the external world. Okay, so we're going to have digestive system. So, or not the system, but the digestive cavity, the tract, respiratory tract, and the urogenital tract. Okay, all of these are going to be moist, and most of them are going to be moist because of secretions. Okay, like mucus. All right, so I'm not quite done with that one. We'll have to go on the next page. So when we use the word mucosa, sorry, my cat is trying to climb me. Say hello. Let me just type that over. Okay. The mucosa refers to the location, so that these are located at the openings of the body, but it doesn't tell you anything about the actual cell type. And the cell type is going to depend on the actual location in the body. So are we talking about the mouth? Are we talking about the anus? We're talking about the urogenitals, respiratory tract, things like that. So it refers to location, not cell composition. Okay. So there are a couple different types of cells that are layers of cells that you can find. Most mucosa are going to be kind of stratified, squamous. Okay, and remember they're not keratinized because this is inside the body, or they're going to be simple columnar. Okay. In these cases, the epithelial sheets are going to lie kind of directly on top of connective tissue. So the epithelial sheets lie directly over a layer of areolar connective tissue. And we usually are going to call that this lamina propria. Okay, and so you'll see this is the layer right beneath the epithelial tissues. Okay, most of mucous membranes are going to be adapted for absorption and secretion. So mucous membranes are often adapted for absorption and secretion, which is going to be mucus. Okay, and so not all of them are going to secrete a lot of mucus, but for example, the digestive tract and the respiratory tract are going to secrete a lot of mucus. All right, so here's going to be an image of what the mucous membranes look like. These are just the kind of the upper body ones, but you know, opening into your nose, into your mouth, the esophagus, the trachea, into the lungs, and also into the digestive tract. So all of those are going to be mucous membranes. The last group of membranes that we're going to talk about are going to be the serous membranes. Okay, and these are the ones that we've actually already talked about a little bit. Okay, so these can also be called kind of the seriosa. These are going to be found in closed ventral body cavities. Okay, they are moist. So these are on the inside of the body, so they are moist. These are not exposed to the external world, so they are unlike cutaneous or mucus. They are actually inside the body, okay? We've talked about how serous membranes can either have, or that they have a visceral layer, so serous membranes have a visceral layer, which is what this is on the surface of an organ, and a parietal layer, which is going to be the part that lines internal body cavity walls. Okay, and in between those two layers, so in between, you have a kind of a serous fluid. Okay. Now, the cells that these are composed of are going to be simple squamous. Okay, and they are going to rest on a thin layer of areolar connective tissue. Now, there are a couple names that we have for these serous membranes, and so we've talked about these ones previously. So special names. So we have the pleurae, which are lung. We have the pericardium, which is heart. And we have the peritoneum, which is the abdomen. And I'll show kind of the last little picture of that. So here's the serous membranes. For example, the ones around the lungs are going to be the pleurae. We have the parietal pleurae and the visceral pleura. So visceral, again, is going to be touching the organ. The parietal is going to be kind of on the opposite side, that's facing the inner body cavity. We have the pericardium, which is going to have to do with the heart. And then if we look at kind of everything around all the visceral organs, digestive organs, those are going to be the peritoneum.